Hey guys, we had a question around pass by value and pass by reference for JavaScript, and especially if JavaScript is a pass by value or a pass by reference language. Now, to clear the clouds and let you know what JavaScript is, in my terms, it is actually neither because it showcases behaviors for both. So it gets confusing when people start to get into details. So let me just clarify it with a couple of examples so that after this point, if anyone asks you what is pass by value and what is pass by reference, you should be able to respond quickly. So the first thing is, what is pass by value? Let me showcase that, and especially JavaScript behaves with the pass by value for all its primitive types like string, numbers, and so on and so forth. So let's try to do this. So let's create a function. Let's remove the separator, we don't need it. And in the function, let's say we call it as change value. It takes something which is a variable, so let's say item, and now what it will do is whatever is the item, it will try to update it to some value. Let's say item is equals to 2. Now let's go outside, let's create a variable x is equals to 1. Now we can just do a console.log of x and then call change value. So this means x is passed to it, and then we do a console log again to see what happens, and this will be pass by value. And when I say pass by value, it means that even if so what happens is you have the value of x as 1. Now you pass the x as a value to the function. Now what happens is function internally updates that value to a 2, but the actual object or actual value of x never changes, which means the x variable is only applicable outside the function and the value is still the 1. So even though you pass this as 1, so if you do a console log here of item, and let me actually put it in a quotes, item equals item. When you do this and let's say you do an item after this, what will happen? So let's run again and see that. So you see item was 1 to 2. So even though you pass the x as a value, the item got updated to 2, but that item did not actually update x variable. So that's passed by value. You're just passing the value of x, and after that x is not available inside the function, and x is only available outside the function. So even whatever operations you performed on this value of x that you pass in, it will not impact x. That's passed by value, and all the primitives that we have in JavaScript will work. Now let's see what's passed by reference, and in fact that's kind of the confusing reason. So let's say instead of x being 1, let me just comment this because just in case if you want to access it further, let's just say this is commented. Okay, now let's say variable x is an object, so is equals to, let's say, number and 1, or let's say value for instance, because that's what we are going to update. So x has a value of 1, it's an object. Now let's do the same thing which we call change value of x, and let's also do a console.log of x.value. So this should give the x value outside. Let's run it, clear, run. You see initially it was 1, item got 1, which is out here, change value, item got 1, and it's 2. Now the reason is we haven't updated it to the object's value. So let's say item dot value, because now we have an object, and set it to 2. And now clear the console and run it. Now you will see that initially it was 1, but now it's 2, which means it's also impacting the object that you have passed. So now when you pass x, which is an object, to the function and try to update the property or parameter that you have passed. So if you have any property of x, in that case you're updating it, it is actually impacting the object. However, and let me show you another thing. So when you do, instead of this dot value equal to something, let's say if I change it to item is equals to a new item which is value as 2. Now if I try to run this scenario, clear it, run it, it will still be 1. So you see what's the difference. So let me explain. So the first time when I pass x as an object to change value, what is happening is I'm passing the object's reference to that. So if I can say is this is x, I have two references now, one outside the function and one inside the function. So when I pass the reference to the function and I change the parameter or property, which is the value, inside the function, the same object gets updated. Now, when I pass the same object out here, again I pass the reference. However, in this scenario, what I did was I did value as the whole object itself, I replaced it with a new object. So if you see the way we initialize the object, which was x equals to 1, it's an object. Similarly, we just initialize the reference to a new object completely. Now at this point, JavaScript takes it as a different variable. So what will happen is it will update the object's reference, which is this object's reference, which was inside the function, to the new object. So the old reference still holds the value of the initial object. And that's where JavaScript differs. And that's where it becomes pass by value versus pass by reference. So it behaves as pass by value by default. In case of objects, if you update any property, like in the previous scenario where we updated the property as item.value as 2, which means we updated the object's property to something, it became passed by reference. The actual object's reference was passed and its property got updated. But if you initialize it to something else, like a new object, in that case, it again behaves pass by value. So I hope this example clarifies a lot of pass by value and pass by reference dilemma that you have. But if you still have any questions, let me know in the Q&A section or in the comments, and I'll be very happy to address that. I'll see you later.